So, I wanted to do a video. I haven't done a video in a week. Tried to do it every day. Probably will be trying to do it every day next week. This week was big because of the election, and I worked in the polling place on the election day, and it was crazy. We probably had 700 people during the day, that came through and voted in some form, or, yeah, that came through and voted. I be specific, but it was a lot of people. It was swamped in the morning. We were, you know, pushing it open 10 minutes early. Got there at 5:40, get everything ready as much as could be, and it was wall to wall. Everyone was using all the booths were filled the entire day. And there was tables on the sides of the room that were being used, and so it was probably close to 15 to 20 people in there at any time, doing their ballots or wait. And the line was, for the most part of the morning, was out the block, and it was just wild. It's crazy to keep up with. And for the morning, it went well as could be expected anyway. So it was a chaotic day, and it's taken me a couple of days to recover. So that's why there hasn't been a video. But not that anyone watches my videos. But in any case, it was obviously Trump won. I haven't looked at too much of the local stuff, but I imagine I'll be looking at that. But yeah, it was a big upset to most people. I had sort of seen it coming. I mean, it's only the policy of war that Clinton and Obama were pushing just didn't seem like it was going to function. It seemed like it was going to be Trump. I was still pretty depressed about it. I think I would have been depressed about it if Clinton were elected as well, but it still seemed a disheartening thought. And I know there are a lot of other people who were feeling the same way. Yeah, and looking at Trump's cabinet, I have to say I am filled with worry, as I imagine most liberals are, that it's Giuliani, whatchamacallit, Chris Christie, right? I don't know the rest of the Sarah Palin. I have a little bit more respect for, but Sid Miller, Ed Carson, I don't know anything about, but it just the Giuliani and the Christie are definitely some pretty scummish people to be bringing into the inner circle, and it just sort of seems like that he will renege on every campaign promise that was good, and these people are controlled or have been controlled entities. They don't. Maybe Trump isn't beholden to Wall Street, but he's made it his entire life, by selling out to them. He may not, need to per se, but it's just how he works. So there's a real question of whether the fight around Glass-Steagall will, what will happen with that. It should happen, immediately. Glass-Steagall should be the first thing. Should be done. Should have been done years ago. Should be done tomorrow. But yeah, he have to. Even though Trump said in his, just before the election that he was going to be for a new form of Glass-Steagall, and there was evidence that people around him were moving in that direction, there is quite a bit of worry about how serious he is and the cabinet is about said process, and also about what sort of foreign policy they'll have. I guess only time will tell. Supposedly he's going to be not as warmongering as Clinton, but there's no way to tell what he'll do. yeah, that's sort of what I wanted to talk about. I mean, is the election is changing it's changing everything, and it's going to. I mean, American people have gotten used to the idea of you know of having being ruled, being subjects, and it's true that in the democratic states they're now protesting and rioting, but this is just the baby rage. They're not. It's not a serious, orchestrated mobilization to change the structure of the presidency, which is what would need to happen. You know, yeah. So maybe these people can be moved. Maybe they, that they can be taken out of rage and given a direction. But it's hard to say. It's hard to say. I mean, maybe the Republicans will find a mission in working with, or find it as good business to work with China and Russia. You never know. It certainly would be good business, but that's whether they'll see it as that or whether they'll see it as a threat to their power is another question. So yeah, that's what I wanted to talk about. More videos to be coming next week.